Hi, and welcome to OneCo's second Emotional Intelligence Training video. In this video, we're going to explore why we are so affected by the emotions that we have, what happens to our minds and bodies during emotionally stressing points, and why we sometimes can just lose it. So that means we're going to talk a little bit about your brain. Your brain is essentially split into two major systems. The one on the interior of your brain is called the limbic system. The limbic system is the instinctual and emotional center of your brain. It tries to ensure your survival through fight or flight responses and also houses areas that control your emotional memory about your tastes and preferences for different things. The second system is the outer layer of your brain, which is called the neocortex. The neocortex is where your brain logically processes information and tells you how to respond rationally to what's happening around you. Now, the way our brain processes information is that everything goes through the limbic system before reaching your neocortex, or the emotional brain before the rational one. This ends up having multiple effects on our minds and bodies. One is that basically everything that we interact with, we have some sort of emotional response to. That's why we have tastes and preferences in food or desserts or the colors that we like, or why a customer likes one product more than another. Those are emotional choices based on how we feel about them. And your brain even has a feedback circuit from the rational back to the emotional part of the brain. You can see this when you know something doesn't make sense, but you still want to do it or buy it because you just really want to. Or you have a gut feeling about something because it just doesn't feel right. This is the limbic system screaming out and causing you to make an emotional decision instead of a logical one. We often struggle to put these emotions into words and say things like, well, just because. The reason for that is our language center is located in our rational section of our brain, and so often emotional thoughts are not even processed in language as they happen. But this also means in an extreme emotional situation when your body senses a threat, the emotional instinctual part of your brain can completely take over your rational part. And unfortunately, it doesn't have to be a real threat like a bear chasing you. It can be a perceived threat to your way of life that can spark this emotional hijacking. In an emotional hijacking, we often act purely on instinct because information isn't sent to the rational part of our brain, and thus we often regret those decisions afterward. But they do have a real purpose. In some situations, we don't want to think out the best action before we act. We need to react immediately. Our bodies are actually made to handle those types of intense emotions every so often and actually function differently during them. However, during the modern age when many things can cause these emotions, people have been put under chronic assault by stress, fear, and anxiety, and this has an extraordinarily negative consequence on our bodies. Putting your body through repeated, intense negative emotions can be very harmful to your health. Some examples are that anger can cause your blood pressure to rise and your heart to pump less efficiently. Fear and stress release hormones which weaken your immune system and leave you more susceptible to disease and illness. Interestingly enough, our brains also have an open loop nature to them that allows us to catch the feelings of people that we interact with. That's why when someone is kind or positive, it can completely change your outlook of the day. Or why we're quick to be angry when a friend tells us something that upsets them. So when you're having a bad day or you're letting a thought or idea eat away at you, you're also affecting the mood of the people that are around you. Conversely, your good mood will also encourage others and make them feel more positive and willing to try new things. When you feel yourself being taken over by an emotion, it's hard not to have some reaction. All your life you've reacted in a certain way when that emotion comes over you. You cannot really choose your reaction to that emotion, but you can choose what and how you think about the event that caused that emotion. So if you mentally can put a spin on the event to make it seem favorable, you can more quickly get out of that funk that negative emotions seem to put us in. And just thinking differently about an event will help you get out of that mental stress point and allow you to think more clear-headedly. This will also help your brain force the situation into the rational or logical part of your brain and help you think of a better solution. In times of panic, it can be difficult to think of any solutions, even ones that seem second nature normally. So by giving yourself some time or thinking differently about an event, you're actually going to be processing the information differently and force it to go from your emotional to your rational brain. And that will allow you to make a much more logical choice that you can be happy about because it wasn't made emotionally. Ultimately, you control how you respond, even when emotions take hold. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're going to look at your own personal competence and strategies to improve your own emotional intelligence. See you next week.